Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome to this week's episode of Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matty Peverell with Marky Davison from Steeler Nation Australia represent. How you doing, mate?
Mate, episode 245, I believe. This is is it 245? Because it feels like it. And I still can't get this morning thing right. It looks like I just woke up because I just did wake up. Jesus Louises. I'm doing well. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. It's a sprightly Saturday morning after a big wedding last night.
Yeah, what did you do? Had a few sherbets out that way or what?
Had a few sherbets, had a couple of drinks, as they say in the US. Got the Gatorades.
Do our American listeners know what sherbet means?
You did do it as a sling in the slang back when we were doing that segment last season. I think you
go and do your homework and go back to episode 50. All right, and go have a look. Nah, it just means beverage, a few sherbets.
It's not even a teasing segment anymore. It's just like, this is what it is. Carson Wright says, here we go. J Devils first in the live chat as always. Classic. Cody's in there. Good to see Cody. But yeah, it's kind of a weird, as we kick this off as well, because some people are going to listen to this. Obviously, we're going live right now. It's Friday night in the US where a lot of our listeners are based. We do have the audio side, and you guys listen to us after the show airs. So this is a weird time. Like, the week when you have the Thursday night is always a little bit weird because we go live on the Friday night, so we're kind of reviewing the game. But usually our show, we talk about the week before and we look at the week to come. And so it's kind of a really weird week because we've already done half of that sort of show and had that massive reaction therapy session that we had last week. If you missed that and you're feeling frustrated by the Steelers, go back and listen to that. It was therapeutic, to say the least. And so now this week, Mark and I have sort of had a bit of a week or so to digest everything that went on against the Browns. You've heard lots of different storylines out of the Steelers. The Jets are going to be a tougher challenge than I think a lot of people realize. And I think I think they're a bigger challenge. I mean, they beat the Browns. So you've got to say they're a better team than the Browns at this point. But I kind of guess, Mark, looking back at everything that went wrong on last Thursday night, do you feel like the Steelers can get it right this week?
No. Do you want me to expand on that?
Yeah, please.
They you know what I'm saying? They can't. I'm being so hopeful over the last forever, right? But in a short answer, I don't think they can, because and it's until they do. Because I'm kind of sick of this narrative of, we've got to turn up, we've got to trust the plan, everyone's got to buy in. Should have bought in. I think you said off air to me, should have bought in weeks ago. I don't think that Trubisky can get it done. I don't think that Canada can get it done. And this Jets team is a good team, right? Led by Robert Salaha, what his name is. He's the coach who wants to go out there and play. He's always on the sidelines, look like he wants to suit up and play. They're an aggressive team. They got young Zach Wilson. I think the only way the Steelers can win this game is running the football and attacking, making Zach run around in circles and get him on the dirt. Other than that, I don't see Trubisky winning this game. I really don't. I think if you wanted to say, it's a working offense and it's a new offense, I understand that, but at the same time, it's like, come on, man, you're a veteran quarterback, and you have some guys who've been playing in the league a long time. Claypool, Deontay, got moved in his second season. There needs to be things happening, and it's just not happening right now. I know it's negative to say, and it is, and I hope they win. I really do, but at the same time, I haven't seen any real progression in 3 games this year, and I haven't seen much from last year either. Right, good off season, I think, from Omar Khan getting all the players together. We're wasting our defense. You talked about on War Room that the Steelers are holding the possession of like 24 minutes a game. You can't win games like that. You just can't. You give the opposition 36 minutes, you can't win games. So, bit of a reality check. I don't think they can turn around now. Is it going to be a game where it's 16-10, 16-13? Possibly. But Jets are in this game, man. And in years past, this would have been called a trap game, right? It's no trap game this week because we're both bad.
Well, I don't think there's any. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I don't think there's trap games at all anymore for the Steelers.
Can't be.
They're not good enough. They're not playing well enough to have trap games.
They're favorite too. I think they're a 4-point favorite or something at home, which they should be. But if the Jets run the ball exactly the same way the Pats did and the way the Browns end the game, and the Steelers can't get to the field,
And they can. They've got a 1-2
they
punch.
can.
Breece Hall, and Michael Carter, mate. Like that is a 1-2 punch.
If they do that, and the Steelers can't get off the field or can't hold possession, I think in the second half was the Browns, they had 4 drives and then 3 drives of minus 9 yards, 3 and out. So yeah, I'm kind of sick of the talk. I really am, and this is building frustration of the last 2 to 3 years with Big Ben's ending and the offensive coordinator changing all the time. Is it might be doing Tomlin a little bit too, right? He's the head coach, but nothing seems to change in the culture. It just seems like what you walk out there, you get all pumped up, and next minute they don't do anything. They don't show up to games. And I can see this happening again. If the Steelers go up there and lose 1-3, you have a gauntlet to run. Gauntlet, Buffalo, Bucks, Philadelphia. Who's the other one? Dolphins. Or without Tua now, also prayers of Tua. That was an unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. That was
sickening injury. Reminded me of Shazier. Was terrible. Right, prayers to him. I just saw it again on the highlights. But this is a tough squad. The Steelers need to pull their finger out and find their identity. They've been talking about their philosophy for 2 years, and it's nothing's changed really. New players come in there. I like what the offensive line's doing. I like what the running backs can do. They established the run the first half, and then they abandoned it and they went away. So that's my answer, I guess.
No, I like it. It's good. I like that little monologue. Look, you talked about a lot there, and we've got to unpack a lot of that. But I think you're right in terms of, well, all of it really. But what's that cultural change? What's that shift that's got to occur, right? Because you know what really upset me in the aftermath of last week's game, not just the stats and the loss. Mitch Trubisky swapping jerseys with Kareem Hunt. Now, yep. I prefer not. I don't know why you do that. I don't know what you do with. I don't know why you do it with Hunt. What he's done off the field. But number 2, none of this swapping jersey stuff.
Yeah, right? Man.
It's not like he's your brother. It's not like the Edmonds brothers, right? Like I get that, right? Even if they lose a game, I get like when they lost against the Bills, I get the swap. At least they're brothers. It's a family thing, whatever. Or there's a milestone game. If it was the Watt brothers, whatever. Like. But I'm sorry, don't go. That's not the spirit. You got to take it seriously. It's like what you said last week. You got to come off that field and be pissed off. Like be angry. Like
yeah, they're not, man.
That's why fan bases, and they're not. They're not.
No, that's why I think a lot of this stuff too, and the money does get involved too, because you're getting paid a lot of money, right? So is the passion there like the guys played back in the day? And that's a real topic. Because I saw the other day, who was it? The Buffalo Bills. Quarterback Josh and another guy. Who was the other dude they versed or someone? And they were almost hugging.
Josh Allen and yeah.
Was it Tua? They were hugging, dude. I'm not gonna go hug my opponent like that after. Shake his hand, say thank you. But it was like in an embrace, man. It was weird. I don't know what was going on. With
I get if like Juju, right? If KC came and played in Acrisure, right? I get that. Like you're 1 year out of the team. You've got all your mates. Blah 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 blah. But you know what? They don't do it on the field. There's locker rooms.
I was going to say,
yeah. Right?
It's all changed now.
But as soon as you lose, it should be more like the old days. You should be marched off, like, maybe you've got to do warm down stuff, whatever. But you should go into that dressing room, and the coaches should shake hands, maybe shake hands to the player that's standing next to you when the game ends. But you walk off that field and you go in the dressing room, and you start the debrief. Because like the one thing that makes the military successful in the world, they talked about this a lot about like different, ex-special forces soldiers across all the different, Western armies. And they all say the number one thing we do is we debrief, right? Now, I know this team debriefs and watches film and has the, position rooms and everything that happens during the week. But you got to start that when the loss is hurting and burning. And to me, stand on the sideline, or standing on the field and swapping jerseys and having a laugh. It's just.
Well, that's why I think it's a lot different now, because you and I didn't grow up in the 70s or whatever, when it was like they were working 2 jobs and they were still playing football, getting paid some money, going out there and playing, right? Now it's like the players are earning big bucks, like Claypool. All these guys got podcasts on the side. Cameron Hayward, all these dudes, right? They got extra work like that. And I know that when they're out in the field, of course they're passionate, but it's just, I think the mindset of the fan hasn't changed. You want to go out there and win. You want to support your team, right? See them go out there and do the best they can. I know they're people too, because we saw with the tour injuries, he's a person, and I get that, and it's horrible. But there's
it's
this
like what
missing
I said
element.
last week. But it's like what I said last week. Sorry, like I don't want to interrupt you on this one, but it's like what I said last week. When you're winning, this stuff doesn't matter. But when
No,
you're
it's true.
losing and and you don't look like you're competing, which brings me to the second point that I wanted to get your views and insights on as well. There's a lot of talk this week about Mitch Trubisky and versus Kenny Pickett. I'm in the Pickett camp. I don't care what anyone says about like throwing the quarterback to the Wolves. He was a first-round draft pick. This O-line's playing better than anything else. Like the fact of the matter is, right now the Steelers aren't playing offense long enough, probably for him to get injured. It's just like that's the reality of the situation. However, all the different things. Then I've heard the feedback of, particularly on the day after, it's on the Friday after Thursday night's game against the Browns. People were saying, well, the good thing about Trubisky is he doesn't throw a pick six. Well, yeah, he doesn't throw a pick six, as I talked about last week, because he is not trying to win the football game. And Pedro on Facebook says put Mason in. I said, remember I said that last week, and whether it was off air or on air with you, that exactly that. If Pickett's not ready, put in Mason, because at least he can stand in the pocket and make a throw, right? And all over the field. But it got me thinking this week when I did War Room, as you said earlier, I focused on time of possession for the first half of the show. And the Steelers have won 19 out of 23 games, drawn 1, and only lost 3 when they've dominated time of possession the last 3 seasons. They haven't dominated possession or even held the majority of possession at all this season. And Trubisky is not throwing. Trubisky is not going to win you football games. He is in there right now as a don't lose us football games.
Mm-hmm.
I see different with Kenny Pickett, or I see the potential different with Kenny Pickett. But also, even if Kenny Pickett, they said in your rookie year, it's like, Ben, just don't kill us. Fine. But the league is also different to what that plan was with Ben. The league now, you got to put up points.
You have to.
I mean, I stopped watching I had to go off and do other things yesterday. So I had at one point I had the Miami Bengals game in the background. When I saw the end score, I was shocked that the Bengals scored there were another 2 TDs late, just because the flow of where that game was going. But teams can very quickly put up 30 points. I mean, the Jets, the team we all laugh at, the team we're playing this week, they put up 31 or 32 points a couple of weeks ago when they beat the Browns. So I'm sitting there. This team's lucky to put up 16 points. And with no TJ Watt, they're not holding the other team to that. So this is where Trubisky, it just doesn't make sense. And I know people are probably sick to death of the quarterback position, but maybe you're not, because it's such a vital cog in a wheel that's not spinning.
He's meant to be the leader, meant to be the captain. And right now, M Marcus 39 says, what do you guys expect from a new offense and new quarterback? I would counter that question or argument and say it's been happening since last year with Big Ben. It's been the exact same offense. And you can't tell me otherwise. It screens, reverses, and it starts to flow. It goes well, right? It goes well. And then you do a nice pass to DJ and a good run, and then he goes and throws a screen and goes backwards and loses I call it the bipolar offense. It goes well, you're up and down. Oh, nice play, and a terrible play. And you're like, what? There's no flow to it, man. And we are, like, Matt Canada can't get around it. We are one of the worst offenses in the league, scoring, 14 points a game. You have to score at least over 21 to try and win these games, because then then the defense got to hold the teams who are under 21 to have a chance. And now, coming into the big games, if I push past the Jets, say we win, you got Buffalo Bills, Tom Brady, Philadelphia Eagles, with Jalen Hurts. There's no way this team right now is a work in progress, right? And people are saying, it's only at least it's only week 4 and there's a lot of season. We get that.
So what? So what? It's week 4. They could be 1-3. And look at the stretch they've got coming up, man. It's the NFL. Man. There are 17 games. Every game counts. And also and Marcus, it's says, and these are fair. Look, these are fair, discussion points, and it's great. We love this contribution, by the way. We're not, we think it's fantastic, but You see, like and Marcus says from YouTube, what did you guys expect from a completely new offense and new quarterback? Well, as Mark, you said there, the offense is not that new. It's just that there's more being installed from it. And a new quarterback, fine. But this is what you're meant to iron out in the preseason. And this didn't look great in the preseason. The only person that looked good in the preseason that was running the offense, like Mason Rudolph did all right against, second and third stringers. But Pickett was clearly equal, if not better than the other two quarterbacks.
Much better. But there's
sorry, I'm like, after week 4, I'm sitting there going, we're a quarter of the way through this thing. It ain't working. We're kind of 7 games in if you count the preseason. So that's just where I feel from it.
Another point here from Ali too says, Marcus, I think they wanted 17-0. That's crazy, man.
I wanted at least 9-8, and I think 9-8.
Right now, Ali, you can't tell me that this offense is giving you confidence to go and win the next game or the next 6 games. I'm sorry, you can't, because scoring 14 points does not cut it. And we're going off right now. Over the last 3 games, they have done nothing. And when I say nothing, they're not commanding the offense, they're not in flow, they're not running the ball when they should be. It's been boring to watch. And I think you should be putting in Pickett because the offensive line is doing their job. Trubisky can't read certain routes. Trubisky is rolling out of the pocket when he doesn't need to. And he's getting himself in a lot of trouble, and he's not winning games. And the whole thing, he's not losing games either. It's a cop-out, man. It's honestly some of the most boring football I've watched in 20 years. And it starts with Trubisky. It starts with also Matt.
I don't mind if it was boring. I don't mind if it was boring, right?
No, it's boring.
And they dominated time of possession. But when I say they haven't had time of possession this season, like, and I'll have to pull it up while we're talking, but they literally are not just like 30 seconds or like a minute behind. There are games where they've got like 24 minutes of, as you said, as you said that I'd said earlier in the week, 24 minutes, 2 extra drives, and with a defense that's missing its best player, like. That's not winning. You're not like if you want to sit there and like it's the philosophy is try and throw a couple of touchdowns, but don't throw interceptions, don't create turnovers. You're gonna have to dominate time possession to win games like that.
I just looked it up. They're 32nd in the league. 24 minutes and 15 seconds. It's not good enough. So the whole notion of like, what do you expect? 17-0? No, I expected a competent offense, and it's not competent. They are the worst in the league at time possession. You can't score points after that. Therefore, they're in big trouble.
The average drive is 2 minutes 15.
It's ridiculous, man. If they lose this game, they need some change, and it does come from the top of being Mike Tomlin and Canada, and of course, Trubisky being captain, right? It's just this whole notion is just frustrating. Of like, I think you need a spark. The team needs a spark. The defense can't be out there for 36 minutes and over they're averaging 80 plays a game, and so all be right, she'll be fine. It's not. This is the moment where in Australia she won't be right. She won't be right, and I'm never like this. You've known me for 2 years now, Matty. I'm never like this. The offense is boring. They got to change something.
But think about this. Where would we be if people like Minkah Fitzpatrick get injured, or Alex Highsmith is not actually a decent pass rusher, which he's turning out to really be? Where would we be right now? Where would we be without a blocked kick? Would be 0-3.
Oh, the team, in my opinion, should be 0-3 because the Bengals stuffed it up. Like, really, they should have won. They should be what are they, 2-2 now? They should be 3-1. In all respects, because we snuck away with one there. And look, I get it. The offense is trying to get back together. We'll get them. We'll get them next week mentality. I hear it, but I can't. And nothing's to me has really changed for the last 2 years. That mentality. We'll get them next week. You'll be right, mate. You're not learning anything. Nothing's really changing. The offense doesn't. With same plays. Like I said to you before, a few weeks ago, you don't see any different routes, route concepts. You don't see Trubisky stepping up into the pocket and finding Muth. They didn't find Muth till to the fourth quarter. I want to see him run the ball.
But see, I don't understand that. I know we talked about it last week, but that's what also frustrates me. What was the stat that they had about Matt Canada? They've had one first quarter touchdown since the Lions game last year.
Yeah,
right? First quarter touchdown. You scheme all week, and you can't even get a touchdown every couple of games. in the first quarter. You scheme all week and you wait till the fourth quarter to throw it to Muth on consecutive plays. The defense just doesn't just start leaving him open like all the time. Now, yes, there were actually 2 plays where he was open, but like this is what also was frustrating. It's like what you said, Mark. This is what's frustrating last year with Ben. We were relying on all these fourth quarter comebacks when they ripped it up, and he started drawing plays in the dirt, so to speak. And so this is why, like, people like, oh, maybe Kenny doesn't know the playbook. Kenny doesn't need to know the full playbook. Kenny needs to know packages of plays. That's how it works with rookie quarterbacks. It's how it works in college.
Who was more exciting in the preseason and more of a competitor in the preseason out of all the quarterbacks? Who was the most exciting to watch and move the football?
Pickett. The best throw, the best, apart from Mason's one to Pickens, and Mason, I'm not saying turn to Mason, so push that to one side. The other best throw was the throw that he threw a touchdown to Deontay Johnson against the Jaguars, and it was called back for the holding penalty. I can't remember. I think it was Dan Moore had the holding penalty, but he faced significant pressure in the pocket, and he absolutely waited the last minute, and he threw a dime down the middle of the field into the end zone. It was like a 35-yard pass or whatever for a TD. And he played the whistle, which I always love in sport when someone like plays to that, plays to the ref's whistle, umpire's whistle. But like the poise that he showed with that ball, perfect.
Yeah, I'd rather see Kenny in there, get quote unquote killed, which I don't think he will. The offense won't do it.
Did Trevor Lawrence get killed last year? He didn't.
He got a few sacks and interceptions, but now he's playing pretty good. He lit up the Chargers. But
remember, I told you last week he was going to light up the Chargers. Remember that?
Yeah. Well, the thing is too, I think you go with a young guy in this situation. If I think he's ready enough, and then maybe they're trying to get him a bit more ready and trying to have a bit more faith in Trubisky. But right now, the stats tell you and you're watching the game tells you that the offense is stale. It needs change. Last year, I just looked it up. In 2021, they were averaging 29 minutes offense. They're 5 minutes below that. At 24, and they're not scoring points. So this is a game where, if we do look to the Jets a little bit, if they take control of possession, start running the football, and the defense out there too long, then we will be behind. And why can't the Jets defense suddenly muscle up and outperform and take on Trubisky? Because no one's scared of Trubisky.
No, but and this is what I said, like about playing to win. With great quarterbacks, I don't care if they throw multiple interceptions, but as long as the touchdown ratio outweighs that and they win football games, that's all that counts. But we are sitting here going, we don't want to throw an interception, so we'll just like live in our fears and look at what it's doing to this team. Like, my question is, what if it's 21-6 at halftime? And the Steelers, no, I'm serious, right? 21-6.
I know you're serious.
And like we've had 2 field goals, and the Steelers are doing nothing on offense. They've had the ball not even 12 minutes of the first half. And we're down 21-6. What a Steelers fan that we're going to sit there and we're going to be like, cool, Mitch is going to win us this game.
I haven't thought once. I haven't thought one time that I thought in the last 12 quarters that he's going to go and get a chance to go down and win 3 points, right? And the great one here, the great 103 says, for what it's worth, offensive personnel is probably better. And I agree 100%. And the offensive scheme is the exact same or worse, right?
This emoji, this profile picture.
It's the exact same or kind of worse. And we all saw it with the stuff where you'd see the screens and the screen to Najee on 3rd and 10. And you're like, what are you doing? Why aren't you advancing the football down the field? Our motto for Australia is advance Australia fair, go forward. And they're not doing that. I've just never seen it, man. I'm just so frustrated. Like, I'm excited to be a Steel fan. I always will be a Steel fan. But right now, the growing pains of this offense, the growing pains of this team, and accepting.
But how is it growing pains? It's not even growing pains. There's growing pains among the offense about like wide receivers in the O-line and the running backs. But there's no growing. This regression, man. Trubisky's not even doing what he's done before. And I know we talk a lot about the quarterback, but it's hard because it has such like complementary football. You and I have talked about this a lot over the last couple of years, and we've done this podcast. Complementary football is absolutely fundamental to having double-digit win seasons and like going somewhere in the playoffs. Yeah, literally. He's black and gold. Remember that packet of Vegemite. Just throwing out there for the live chat. But yeah, like the complementary football is so important. Getting back to that, and so Trubisky holds a certain amount of responsibility for that complementary football because it's putting the defense under pressure. It's like you said, Mark, 36 minutes. How are we going to go 36 minutes when we've got we all talk about everyone was all on Devin Bush in the offseason. Devin Bush is playing well. There are some people that won't say that he's playing well. But look at the pressure that puts the middle inside linebackers on. Look at the pressure it puts. Everyone's like the cornerback unit. There are a couple of new guys in that cornerback room and they're not playing too badly, really, considering how much they've got there actually having to play. Like, we had no Kazee, and I know that KZ was someone that they were looking at bringing into this defense, to play three safeties. With Norwood continues to contribute. The guy's a 7th round draft pick. There is one glaring issue here, and it's the captain of the ship, so to speak, on offense, and
it should be.
You can't look past it, man.
No, it definitely should be too, because this whole league has now changed too, right? The league is now a quarterback-driven league with all the guys like Josh Allen, Mahomes, all those dudes, man. And we have a guy that is Trubisky, and he's not confident in the locker room. I see in his speech, in his presence, he's not confident in the team. We just brought him in and said, "Oh, go and be our quarterback number one," right? I would rather the team get around Kenny Pickett and see what can happen because you drafted the guy rather than you went out and get. Oh, you just.
But you can't do that. I know they've promised if they've promised the games, I understand that argument about veteran leadership. They shouldn't have done that though.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I would have rathered they didn't promise anything and you compete for the job and that mentality. Because that's the same mentality about how they give out the contracts, where other teams do a heap of guaranteed money for the whole contract. The Steelers
what did you hear, Matty? Did you hear it's meant to be him 6 games or something, and therefore there was no quarterback competition?
Correct.
Is that right? That to me is crazy. I think
it is crazy. You've got to compete. No wonder it's what it is out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And sorry, I also don't understand, right? So we go up against the Jets and then they play Buffalo. Let's assume they lose that. Then let's say they lose in a nail biter at Tampa Bay. But Mish plays really, really well. Is that enough? As I say, I'm assuming I'm playing off the scenario at 6 games. What? Then he's played so well that maybe you should start against Miami. But hang on, the Steelers are 1-5 or 2-4. No, you've got to compete. You've got to compete to play on this team. It irks me because if that's what they promised him, if they promised him more than 6 games and 8 games, they shouldn't have drafted Kenny Pickett. Right? I know that sounds ridiculous, but they shouldn't have. They're better to get an O-lineman and then in next year's draft, go again. But right now, I would have rather them not sign Trubisky, see what they got in the draft, and then if they had a bad season because they didn't have a good quarterback and they played Mason there, fine. Then we get a high draft pick next year. We go get a franchise quarterback. But this sort of, we're going to try this and we're going to do this and we're going to commit to this, but it's only a half-assed commitment. No wonder it's 1-3.
But is that the case though? This idea, I've heard this idea that Trubisky has in his contract where he has to play a certain amount of games. Where did you hear that from? Is that more of a rumor or is that actual becoming a fact?
So I've heard it on a couple of different shows. I heard it on one of the Cowherd shows. I heard it on Pat McAfee's show as well. But this is It's still speculation, but it's interesting how many people are starting to corroborate this story. That doesn't mean it's correct.
That's what I'm saying, right? The more we talk about it, is it the actual fact, or is it because we're just putting notion into it?
Well, I hope it's not a fact.
Because if it's a fact, let's say it is a fact, right? That they made him 6 games, 7 games into the contract where you have to, we'll make sure you get the 6 games. Then therefore the quarterback competition was never real, and that I don't like that. What's the point in then having even playing Pickett or Mason out there, right?
I'd be pretty dirty if I was exactly Brian Brown. You could have started Mason.
Don't we look like a lot? Not me, but I'm a Mason supporter.
They said that Kenny Pickett. Do you go back after the draft? They said that Kenny Pickett was their guy all along, right? And Colbert said we were really surprised that he was here at 20. they're not stupid. They like the way those draft systems and boards work. Yes, occasionally there are shock picks at times in the first round. But when they started seeing all those flurry of trades and the teams trading for them, they knew it was highly unlikely people were going quarterback, right? Including the Saints, right? Because the Saints have a good enough team that they want a couple of pieces, and if it doesn't work, and they do stink, they'll go get one of the one of the supposedly better quarterbacks in next year's draft. The Saints were the only ones I was really thinking once you got outside the top 10. I thought Carolina might go there, but really that Pickett would be available. But as I said, Colbert said they were open to drafting up to go grab him. I think the Texans were at 12 or something like that. I think that's where they were open to. I think he alluded to that. So they clearly wanted Pickett if they could get him. Now, I get going and getting the best quarterback that's on offer in free agency. Like I said, I've complimented that strategy the whole offseason. But I've complimented that on the understanding that it's a competition for a spot. If you promise games, it's exactly as Brian Brown said. We could have avoided that. Because clearly they were going to trade up to get, they were willing to give a certain amount of draft capital. And I'm sure they are willing to give more draft capital for Kenny Pickett at the quarterback position than they were for Devin Bush.
Yeah. I got a question here too, and this is a big one. I think I want to get your thoughts on this because so the question is from DJ2 says, do we fire Tomlin?
No.
Now, first of all, I do like how it's not just fire Tomlin with an exclamation point. It's fire Tomlin ? Now, I'm in the camp of I don't think you fire Tomlin. However, there is a lot of pressure on Tomlin right now. And I'll say this on record, right? Here it is. If they go out there and lose the next 5 games, go 1-7 or whatever it is before the bye, 1-6, then of course the fire Tomlin crowd will come out crazy, right? But the same fire Tomlin crowd should also, if right, they should give respect to Tomlin if he goes out this and we win 4-3. If we escape this and go 4-3 in the bye, should there not be more respect given to Tomlin as well? Because sometimes I feel like the fire Tomlin crowd only goes one way. It's when they're losing.
Well, I don't think you can fire. Come on, like I think we've all got to dial it back a notch or two here in the coaching, in the Tomlin part of the coaching situation. If Tomlin loses this season, it will be the first time he's had a season under 500, right? Sorry, if they lose more games, right, then they win. That's the first time. You're going to fire a coach for that? Like, there are some teams in this league, the Lions would kill to have the Steelers' records across the last couple of seasons, right? Teams like that, the Falcons, all those sorts of guys. And teams that go 2-15 in the new, with now 17 games, or 4-13, they're bad for a consecutive number of years. Like, we don't want that, right? And there are changes that happen and people want out. And there's certain things that are jumped to a conclusion for. We don't want that. Like, it's as Jeffrey Benedict talks about. Art Rooney II is no Dan Rooney. Like, you can't afford to keep doing that. But you've got to get better. And this is the thing is, I don't see a path to 6+ wins right now based on what's in front of me. And I'm sorry, it's 25% of the season will be through after this week. We've seen the preseason. Every game counts. And it's, as you said, Mark, the stretch that they've got. I mean, put the bye week aside. This is what they've got. Jets, Bills, Buccaneers, Dolphins, Eagles, Saints, Bengals. Bengals are going to come back. Then they've got the Colts, who could be anything. The Falcons. I mean, most people probably say that's an easy game, but that means it's the Steelers. It's a trap game. And then they've got the stretch where they play the Ravens twice and the Browns twice. At least they don't have to travel to go play the Raiders, who are looking like they're capitulating anyway. But they've got a crucial part of the season. And even still, right? If they're not competitive in these next 5 games before the bye and the first, let's say, 3 after the bye, then it doesn't matter if they win those last games, because even if they manage to scrape into the playoffs, they're going to be bundled out week 1 anyway.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I'm sitting there going, 25% of the week, it's part of the season through. It's not like we're playing decent and there's room for improvement that's going to put us into winning contention. This is, we're struggling to even win a game. No, and there's little hope of the playoffs with the record right now. And even if it gets better, what are you going to do? Because you don't go out to play football to have a 500 season. You go out to play football to win the Super Bowl.
I was going to say, what's their mentality? Is their mentality to go out there and like, are they thinking Super Bowl right now? Because obviously they mustn't be. You know, are they thinking about just getting through the next week? Like, what's the mentality from the Steelers side and the players? Do they want this? Like, do the players want this? I don't feel like they do. I don't know. I feel like they're just missing a few things in the offense, and of course, missing TJ hurts a lot for defense. But it feels like on offense they're missing a few things, and Trubisky's got his new team, and we're going to remember he sat last year. Like he's not that's the crazy thing. He sat as a backup quarterback, and now he's going to be a starter. So there's so many different questions that you can ask anything. But to me,
But
the
also,
mentality
like,
is
yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say the other thing about the quarterback position, and then I want to go back to that mentality thing because I love your takes on mentality and culture. Kenny Pickett, the other thing people need to keep in mind is Kenny Pickett is not a 21-year-old rookie. Kenny Pickett is a 24-year-old rookie. Kenny Pickett is someone that's experienced. Kenny Pickett is not like some small bloke. Kenny Pickett is 6'3" and like 225 pounds plus. He can play in this league. Anyway, I want to go back to mentality because I love when you talk about mentality.
I'm just saying, like, I go around the locker room and just the last few years, maybe it is because it is 2022 and I'm getting older and I'm just what I miss is the old days of like the 04, 08, Steelers where they were all bought in. They all had like a group chat, you know what I'm saying? They all had this brother mentality. And I just don't see that with our Steelers. I don't see any true leader on the offense besides maybe Najee Harris, but he's going into his second year. And they're not feeding him enough. I don't see there's a positive mentality of like, go out there and to win a championship. Like the Bills, the Chiefs, they've all got that. They've all got that mentality of like the Eagles this year, right? Miami until Tua went down. They've all got that mentality to grab it by the throat and go for the jugular and win. We haven't got that in the Steelers because you can't see that on the offense. I think it's just really changed the culture of the Pittsburgh Steelers way.
And we don't even know. And the thing is, we don't even know for the defense because the defense is having to sweat it out there.
36 minutes a game.
That's now, the one blessing in disguise that will help once we have the bye is that we've played, what was it, like 3 games in the space of like, was it 16 days or something?
Yeah. I think so.
No, 3 games in 11 days. 3 games in 11 days. Right? So that also is a big deal to have to do that. At least they don't have to do that now. But this is where, it's quite funny. Mark, we always complain the last couple of years about like the buys too early. We want a later buy. This year is a year we could have done with an early buy, right? Because we had the one. Well,
I think this last week's been a little bit of a buy for these guys too to get around it, right? And I got a point here from Alfred says, okay, fellas, fair point, but can you honestly say that any other coach who is average, above average, could replicate Tomlin's success with a Hall of Fame quarterback? I'm not too sure. Guys, I'm a Tomlin supporter. Let me put that out there. I support Tomlin 100%. I'm just saying that this team is missing something right now. And if that is to change coordinators in the offseason, for sure, that is to change quarterback, that is to change an offensive scheme, something is missing.
I'm sorry, like a guy like a Joe Brady is not going to, or Joe Judge or whoever it was, like, is not going to.
Who's Joe Brady? Is that Tom Brady's cousin?
I mean, Joe Judge. Ben McAdoo, those sorts of guys, I don't think they wouldn't have. No. Tomlin, there's a lot of games, like, remember the Super Bowls? Yeah, Ben got them to Super Bowls, but, the defense won those Super Bowls too. Like,
No, it's
but Jeremiah Yoda says it. Like, he's completely right. Like, the Steelers defense has to get off the field on 3rd down. Let's go beat the Jets this Sunday. But the Steelers defense can't be out there for longer than the offense week in, week out. And this is what happens. People are tired. Like, and they don't have the depth there because they've been trying to invest in, wide receivers and drafting mid-round O-linemen. And it's just not. Yeah, I'm right. Joe Brady is the coach. Yeah, I knew he was a coach. But anyway, he wasn't the guy I was meant to be referring to. So thank you.
I didn't know who Joe Brady was. It should be Tom Brady coaching. I can't believe Tom's still playing. Can you believe Tom's still playing? We're gonna have to verse him.
C and D. We're not talking about 2 games. We're talking about 3 games. So it's like the other thing too is this is Mitch. This is what his career's looked like to date.
Yeah, I think in a big nutshell, you need a change, and the change isn't happening, and the offense is stale. So, But pushing to the Jets game, prove me wrong, Mitch. Go out there if you're watching the podcast. Make sure you hit that sub and you follow all the other guys on BTSC.
I really like him too. I want him to be
just go
successful.
and do something. Go and throw the football down the field. Like, why are you targeting? Go and target Muth. He should be number one guy, in my opinion. Get Muth on the linebackers. If you can't find anyone, find Muth. That's what I would do. Use him like a Heath Miller. But they can go out there and beat the Jets. I just want to see them possess the ball and move the ball down the field to get 7 and 21 points plus. But what we've seen in the last 3 games on average, and they're not doing that. So it's going to be a frustrating game, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
But also,
I've got them winning 16-10. I've got them.
The Jets or the Steelers?
Steelers. I think they can win, but
Steelers
it's going to be
this team to 10 points. No way.
It's going to be scrappy.
But also, I'm sitting there like Deontay Johnson last week he was not good last week.
I thought he played okay, but then he did some big drops near the end. He was getting open to in the first half. He was playing okay, and then near the second half, he started to make the drops. But I thought he was.
You know what though? Remember when I said before he signed that deal? Remember I said he's worth a certain amount of money, but he's not worth the 20 million a year. Remember I said he's worth like the 13 to 15. He plays like that, and that's what happens in those games because a 20 million a year, top wide receiver in this league, doesn't do that week in, week out. And his body language was bad.
Here's a question for you. How do the Steelers win this game? How do they improve the 2-2? Who's got to step up in this game? I think this is a do or die situation for the whole season. I know it sounds crazy, but if they don't win this game, they're 1-3 and they have a really tough gauntlet to go through. Who wins the game for the Steelers?
It's hard. I don't know. If Najee's healthy, I would go, this is just Najee, and it's short passing as well. It's working in. I think it's Claypool. Because I don't think that Trubisky has got the same relationship that it sounds like Pickett has from training camp and the preseason. So I would love to say Pickens is also, that's a lot to put on a rookie. But I think Claypool is making some pretty decent catches. He's making some important catches as well. I think he's got to show up to take the pressure off Deontay Johnson. Because the thing for me is the Jets have guys like Garrett Wilson, and the Jets have guys like Elijah Moore. The Jets have 2, as I say, really good running backs. What if they turn it on? What if Zach Wilson comes back and turns it on? Now that's a big if. It's a big if. But if he comes back and turns it on, how is this team going to put up 30 points? They're going to have to rely on those guys. And so I think Claypool to me is really important for Trubisky. Because I know we all want to run the ball more. I want to run the ball more. But the offensive line is still more set up for pass pro at this time. Or they're certainly a lot more cohesive on pass pro.
You see that one? Alfred says DJ was surprised we threw him the ball deep, just dropped it. He's like, oh no, oh man. I know we talk a lot of negative about this team today, but I really I support my team through the thick and thin and 100%. But this is probably for me and maybe yourself too, Matty, the really thin times, or this is a different time without Big Ben, and we've never had a losing season. I don't think I've ever watched a team since, I think maybe 2002 I started watching when I think they lost 6 and something. But the majority of my time, I've always seen them play to win and play to playoffs. And this year, so far, it's like, oh, do we even have a chance?
But if this team's not good enough, right? He's obviously not playing this week. But at some point, I just say you bring him Pickett and get him used to the NFL. Get him bonding with the wide receivers. Claypool's got another year on the contract. Deontay's going to be around for a while. Pickens is there. Freeman's got another 2 years. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to go and do that. Trubisky's obviously not going to be a franchise-winning quarterback.
Yeah.
So, why don't we look to the guy that we drafted in the first round? Because, as I said earlier, we should if he's not the guy that you can bring in the first half of the season, right? And it's not that he's not ready. I say if he was 20 or 21 or 22, and you feel he's not ready, fine. But the guy can understand a playbook. Everyone talks about how cerebral he is, and he's a winner and he gets it and all the rest of it, and he's very mature. But otherwise, we should have drafted no lineman, or we should have drafted a linebacker like Devin Lloyd. How much should I talk about Devin Lloyd in the lead up to the draft? He's killing it. He's a top 3 linebacker in this league. Imagine that on this defense with Miles Jack. Cool. If you're going to be out there for 36
Yeah.
minutes, like this is what I mean. It's not that I'm just sitting there going Trubisky sucks. It's like all the things that surround this and the way this affects the team's ability. And I've never, until someone proves me otherwise, this possession piece, 3 years in a row, if you look at the cumulative total over the last 3 years, the Steelers have dominated possession 23 times, which is not even 50%, right? 19, 3, and 1. That's 20 games you haven't lost. And if Freemuth doesn't fumble it, it's 20 games that you've won when you dominate time possession. And there are teams that we go walk around this league and we go, oh, that team sucks. And the Steelers have got the ball for 25 minutes in that game. Like, how do you do that?
How many touchdowns do you think Trubisky throws this week? Do you think he bounces back? Because the Jets are averaging 2 touchdowns per via the air every game. Do you know that? 2 touchdowns per game they're averaging in the air. So how many does he throw? 0? No. 0? Is this okay? This is the last.
Hasn't he only thrown two in the air on the season?
He's thrown 2, but the Jets defense, Jets secondary, I looked it up, are averaging 2 touchdowns in the air per game. Defense.
But I'm talking about no. But you said Mitch Trubisky, he's thrown 2 on the season, so he's not averaging 2 per game. He's literally throwing 2 on the season.
Yeah, I know, but the Jets defense is allowing 2.
Yeah.
So how many does he throw?
2 is exactly the ceiling. Like, there's no more than 2.
So
prove me wrong. You know what? Like, me too. I would love to come on next week, and I'd love to sit there in War Room and go, I'm an F-wit. I don't know what I'm talking about. Mitch Trubisky throws 5 TDs and goes for 300 yards. But that's the other thing too. And obviously, if you're not winning time possession, your yardage is going to be lower. The guy's average yards per game are 189 yards. Not even 200. Bad. We talked about this last week. The average of 5.5, like less than Nick Chubb running the ball, man.
He's the worst in the league. 5.5 is the worst, and that's might be the worst ever. Like, it's stale.
Alfred. Yeah. So Alfred. Sorry, I said yes. Alfred in a live chat brings up. Here's a question: what if the Steelers don't plan on bringing Canada back, which I don't think they do because they gave him 1 more year at Pains this year? Would you still want KP to play in Canada's offense only and have a new OC next year? Yes, because I want him to get used to the NFL. I want him to get used to reading NFL defenses. I want him to get used to having like combinations and get in sync with his wide receivers. I do want that.
California. Is that the OC? You ever watch the OC?
I love the OC, man.
Who was that guy?
I rewatched it 3 times.
Was his name Ryan? He was always in trouble, wasn't he? He's always just a rat bag. Yeah. Just a rat bag, mate. Always so serious. Man. I hope we win. I really do. What's your score? I got him 16-10.
JJ52. This is the best one I've heard all day. Trubisky needs the Gordon Ramsay treatment. They need it. Matt Canada needs, the idiot sandwich one. I love the idiot sandwich one. That's my favorite. Oh, I love it. 2 terrible towels, like clap them over the ears.
What's your score? What do you think?
It's different because Wilson's playing, which is where the Steelers defense could pick him off for 2 touchdowns. I wasn't able to check it this morning before we went to air. Is Minka definitely out?
I think he's back. I think Witherspoon's out, and I think Minka's back.
All right, if Minka's back. Yeah, Witherspoon, I thought he'd be out. All right, if Minka's back, we can say a pick 6 or a couple of key turnovers from Minka. Wilson's got 2 or 3 TDs in him. I think 24-20 Steelers loss.
24-20 Steelers loss. Holy dooly.
I want to say 27-24, but I don't think so. I don't think the Steelers have got it in them. Unless they get that, unless they get a defensive. If they get 2 defensive scores, they've got it.
Jets 28, Steelers 3. That would be panic mode. But everyone's right. 24-9. DJ 2, Steelers 2013. It's going to be a close game. I can't pick it, but I can't Kenny Pickett, right?
Yeah, or I could pick it if we had Pickett.
Yeah. Oh, easy. Yeah, we win. I don't know. See what happens.
No, if you throw Kenny Pickett in this week, you win.
He'd be more explosive. I think you'd have more time possession, more chance to do play action.
It becomes college football at that point. It's yeah, case and right exactly. In the live chat says he's cleared protocol. League's about to change all of that up 100% up.
Big time.
Because in a lot of other sports, it's not about how many games you miss; it's about the days you miss.
I think Gary forgot we're doing an Australian show. He says "hooly dooly." Who says that? Are you joking, mate? That's half my vocab. I'm not from America,
But Alfred says, don't forget, if we want KP to develop into Mahomes or Rodgers, I don't know. I think we've got to have fair expectations on that one. But he could benefit from doing what they did and see out for you. Totally. But then look at Bradshaw, look at Manning. Also, this team, it's about the team. It's about winning. It's like I said it earlier in the show. Do you want to win football games, or are you trying to go for 500? Because if you're not planning, if your objective is not to win the Super Bowl, then you may as well tank and get a high draft pick and go again. You don't play sport to do okay. You play sport to win.
Winner's mentality, man. 100%. You need that. You got to go there and win.
That's what I love about the black and gold, right? That's what I love about.
Holy dooly, put in Pickett. Yeah, that's funny.
But Alfred, you are right. Massive credit to you, Alfred. Isn't it sad from YouTube's back? Isn't it sad that we have to start the answer by saying, say a pick 6 by Minka? That is exactly the point.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think the Steelers team can average 2 touchdowns a game throw on by throwing receiving touchdowns with Trubisky. I just don't think they can do it.
Well, it's boring. It's a boring offense. That's why and the stats show that. So, and we've beaten the drum, but we want to be wrong next week. We want to be wrong. Go out there and do something, Mitch. You're the captain. Go and lead the team.
But also, even if he does that, it's like what I said about playing okay, at the end of if he has been given this 6-game guarantee, and then playing at the end of that and going, oh, he played really well the last one, even though we lost, let's keep going. Because the thing is, contextually, let's say we hadn't drafted Kenny Pickett. Let's say we drafted, I don't know, Carson Strong, Bailey Zappi, whoever, right? Let's say we didn't draft any of those. Let's say we had Chris Oladokun. I would, at this point, be going, I think it's time for Mason. It's not just about Pickett, right? This is about, based on what's on the preseason, I'd be saying, look, you know what? I'd rather see Mason over Trubisky at this point and see what we can do and hold the ball and get the running game develop over the next few games, blah, 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 blah. But the fact you've got a round 1 quarterback who knows how to win, who's a good quarterback, that's what I mean. That's where it's really hard to just overlook that.
We will see. We will see what happens. And I want to say, go Steelers. We'll see what happens. I think we can have a chance, but it's really hard to watch right now. I'm telling you. And we got to get up at 4 a.m.
Yeah, actually, Jeremiah Yoda, you bring up a good point for us to close out the show. Bradshaw had competition with Joe Gilliam and Ten Hanratty, right? And Noel, Bradshaw talked about this in the interview I was in a couple of weeks ago. And he said, when he got dropped for Joe Gilliam, he went to Chuck Noll, and Chuck Noll said, because he's like, I want to be traded. And Chuck Noll was like, no, you're staying on this team. You will be great. And then they figured it out. So, fine. But this is the thing, is Trubisky. That's the other thing that I hate about this. If Trubisky's got a guaranteed amount of games, I can't believe we're back here, but if he has, he knows that he can do whatever those games, fine. What happens, and then he can go compete. And I don't like that attitude. You should always have to compete. And we're going to close out the show with Gary's comment, which says, if the O-line doesn't leave holes like a broken picket fence, and first-round pick Pickett does a flea flicker to second-round pick Pickens, then Pickens passes it to Pickett. That would be quite an awesome pickle, and hopefully won't end in a pick 6.
There you go. Thanks, Gary.
Classic. But with that, that's going to wrap up this week's Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matty Peverell with Marky Davison, as always.
Go Steelers.